All right, I think we're good. So I'm here to talk a little bit about how to keep loving what it is that you're up to in terms of this sound. All right, we're good. So I'm here to talk a little bit about how to keep kind of loving what it is that you're doing. I know that that's not always easy. So I started really thinking about kind of my love affair with language a few months ago. When I was elbows deep in spreadsheets and slides for an investor meeting. I work at a small SaaS startup, and by small I mean up until about 3 months ago, there were 3 of us. So 3 engineers kind of sitting around at the 500 Startups office surrounded by other people in what's basically a dorm room. And, you know, I really started thinking about how we had to just document everything. We really needed to push our API live. There was so much going on, and everybody was just super frustrated. So I realized we really sometimes just have to spice up our career life. So documentation, it's really not always easy, but it's supposed to be worth it. So I really think that your career is kind of like a marriage. And if you haven't seen The Princess Bride, shame on you. So one of the reasons I say that your career is really like a marriage is that choosing a career should take some consideration and prep work, usually a degree, some sort of training. At the very least, you filled out a job application, kind of like some people fill out an application to get married in Vegas. Once you've been with your career for a while, it makes you love it more, but it also helps you see some of the cracks and flaws, so sometimes you get a little bit stuck in the weeds. And then typically, you've become educated about it, worked your way up, started developing skills, so it's not something that you're going to walk away from that easily. So a lot of times we'll tough it out, even if we don't necessarily want to. But the news for marriage isn't really all that pretty, with 48% of marriages ending in divorce. And sadly, the news for employees is kind of grim, too. It turns out that 64% of us in this country report being unsatisfied or only somewhat satisfied with what we do. So what are we going to do? You can do what I do and start the day off right, which is with a bloody beer or an Irish coffee. I don't know if you saw the name Erin O'Brien and the flaming red hair, but I basically have a shamrock tattooed somewhere on me. So what are we going to do? We're going to fall back in love with our gig. So because I can't help you with your actual marriage or fix your job, I'm going to try to help you remember why you started dealing with this in the first place so that the rough days become a little less rough. So if you've lost that love and feeling, and another career, like sometimes I really want to run a food truck that only serves nachos. I have like 100 different nachos recipes. That starts to sound pretty good, but here are some ways that you can try to remember what's up. So remembering why you fell in love with what you're doing, or at least why you're doing it in the first place, can help out. So here's a few of mine. I really like the look of a blank document. I don't know what it is about some like clean white space and the ability to do anything with it. It's the thing that some people hate the most because it's a little bit daunting. But for me, sometimes I'll just like start scribbling on a page and I'm like, okay, I should probably actually write something. Or I'll even just go into like my freeform tool and I'll just like play around with it for a while. I'm like, okay. The subtle curve of your favorite font. There actually is a background on here that looks a little suggestive and sexy, but sorry about that. The ability to change the pace of an entire document with punctuation. And I know it's only a spoken joke, but one of my favorite is Mike Myers, you put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable thing from like 10 years ago. Friggin' cracks me up. And the fact that most people don't know a colon from a semicolon from a comma, or really don't know an apostrophe from quotation marks. And if you do, it pretty much makes you the master of the language universe in this country, because I can tell you you're in like the 1%. You should try some of these tips for maximizing efficiency. Did you know that the University of Virginia actually found that looking at cute images increases your fine motor skills, makes you concentrate harder, and helps you keep from getting distracted? So you will be more careful both mentally and physically thanks to biology and your natural desire to not want to drop a baby. So thanks to University of Virginia for figuring that out. That's actually a taxpayer school, so stoked on that one. If it's good enough for POTUS, it's good enough for me. Turn your desk away from the window. Actually, Harvard studies on productivity in the workplace show that facing outside results in lower productivity. They've also actually said that we should work less on nice sunny days and longer on bad weather days. So that's actually some information from Harvard I could get on board with. You should try writing your docs in a new font. A small change in style, even temporarily, can refresh creativity. As long as it's not Papyrus or Comic Sans, I will not advocate. But even if you type it up in a different font and change it back before you do anything with it, sometimes just visually changing your atmosphere will really help. This also works if you just leave your current desk space, unless, of course, you have lots of pictures of cute, fuzzy animals, in which case you should probably stay because you've already optimized. You should sweat it out. So studies actually show that the best temperature for your office is 77 degrees. That seems a little sweltering to a lot of people, and is contrary to what a lot of people believe about cold weather keeping you awake. But it turns out being warm boasts a 44% decrease in typing errors and 150% increase in output. And I think that that's just people wanting to speed up so they don't have to stay there anymore. Could be wrong. The next one is you should really look at your docs through someone else's eyes. I realize this is a little creepy now that I'm under it, but sometimes you just really need some fresh perspective on why it is that you're doing what you're doing. So talk to students, interns, users, or colleagues who are seeing your docs for the first time. Really bask in the glow of knowing the fact that you helped somebody understand something that they probably didn't understand before this, and that until you wrote it down, it didn't exist, which is pretty freaking cool. Talk to someone else about their job, especially if they're a mortician or an accountant. This will help you remember that you're not the only one trying to do something that's a little bit tough, and that the only things certain are death and taxes. Go back and look at some of your first work. Whether it's like reminiscing on the excitement of things that you were working on when you first started out, or that you're just really grateful that you're past whatever that project or point in your career was, it's probably going to help. And feeling anything when you are kind of in like a doldrum is good, whether the feeling is relief or excitement. And really remember that if you just can't be with the one you love, you should love the one you're with. And I know that my presentation was really short, but this is me. So that's my name, my Twitter handle, and the people that pay me there. But I thought that it would just be good for everybody to have a quick refresh before we get started for the rest of the day on every now and then we all just have to like have a quick Irish coffee. Remember that, you know, you're going to be documenting stuff for a long time if you want to keep it up. So hang in there and fight the good fight. And that's it.